Are you? What is up? Let's respect our guest and give him what time? Oh, look at that! See, I fucking nailed it. I'm so good at this show. All right, what are you plugging?
Plugging. I thought we were talking about when is enough enough.
Oh yeah, but look, I
Judd, can we talk about you being the host on Chop Jr. for the next 2 seasons?
Yeah, I know. Well, do you have fantasies of retirement? Do you have plans?
This is Dan asking about whether or not he's allowed to retire.
Yeah. Do you think about retiring? Like, do you think why do you still do it?
Because it's always been for the money, and I hate everyone, and they've always hated me, and I arrived alone, and I'm leaving likewise, and they've been hurtful, and they're gonna miss me when I'm gone. And to prove it, I just test drove a Tesla yesterday on Sunday.
Dan, sorry, Judd, to cut you off for a second, but hold your thought there. Dan, you're never gonna fucking retire because your identity is based on your output. Like you want to be liked and to be in the mix. Like you're gonna fuck.
Tell him, Judd. Tell him.
No, Dan, you tell me.
How much money have you made?
Well, am I allowed to count the money I'm gonna make?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, like hundreds of millions of dollars. If you can't count it until you have it, I don't know, like
Judd,
$10.
Are you like
Judd,
Ryan? What's his name? Ryan Murphy? Are you have a Ryan Murphy deal?
Yes, probably.
Judd, you and I have just met. I can guarantee, having known Dan for a long time, he's never going to retire because his identity is too built into the work. You want to create, and you want people to like the things that you create.
Judd, do you think, you're a storyteller, is this the character in the movie that is the good friend, or the... Is this the drinking buddy that doesn't want you to get married, or...
Dan, like, if you went off the air, Dan, if you went off the air and didn't have a TV show, didn't have a movie coming out, didn't have a podcast...
If I moved to Montana, like Larry Sanders...
You'd be happy just moving to the hills and completely switching off.
I wouldn't take it that extreme. I mean, like Larry Sanders in that season, like it's a very resonant thing. He has this fantasy. It's like, I'm going to go to a cabin in Montana. It just becomes this mantra, and then like the season ends with there's the cabin. He's in Montana, and it's just like quiet. He's like, fuck, fucked up. Right. But I don't make the mistake of thinking that I don't love attention and that I don't need to feel the admiration of strangers and all this stuff. I simply I'm pretty confident that I mean it when I say I would love to wake up one morning and ask myself the question, what do I want to do?
Because you're burdened
what do I
with
have
how
to
much
do?
There's too much to do to get all the work done.
Yeah, and I think like
have a deadline,
I'd like to
not
make
have
a
a
couple
boss.
little dumb movies, like the kind that got you your start, and the kind that Schraub and I did Channel 101. It was like, these are the happiest times of our lives when we were in our 20s and we made these like dumb things. And yeah, you make them now, you put them on Instagram, and you just like 40 Nazis go, stop talking about politics. But who cares about them? It's not for them. I just want to watch them burn. It's like the fulfillment. Like I'll make a little song and I'll go like, that feels nice. I think that's the expression on my dad's face when he works on stained glass. He's like, my dad doesn't go, I can't stand not working on VHS duplication anymore. My dad doesn't have to be good or bad or lying or honest in order to be like, I'd prefer working on stained glass. He's really bad at it. Like, I hope my dad, he makes terrible stained glass.
Is he a fan of the show? Should we not talk about that?
I don't think so. Because I think in the 300 episodes of this show, I think even just as an aggregate, we've probably provided tutelage in making stained glass better than he's made. On accident. Okay, well, all right. The reason you groaned is because the joke was poorly constructed. It's not because it was like a low blow. You were groaning because you're like, oh, all of that for that? Just to say your dad's shitty?
Judd, how about you? Like, are you going to be the kind of person that wants to retire soon, or work until they put you in the dirt?
No, I just, sometimes I think the things that are smaller are less pressure and more fun. Like it was really enjoyable to work on the documentary. I made a documentary about the Avett brothers and about Darryl Strawberry and Dwight Gooden, and I find that I'm getting more and more joy out of the things I don't get paid for.
Have you been able to find some place where you don't, what is your relationship with people's opinion of you?
Of
as
me?
far, yeah. Because how do you, because I'm only to the place where I can go, oh, fuck them. That's the healthiest I can get.
Yeah.
But
even the ones who like you.
No, not fuck them. No, 1,000 camels for their children. I just mean like it's like, oh, that relationship can hurt me.
Yeah.
So fuck it.
Yeah.
But you're about to tell me how to get a relationship where you're like, actually, it's okay for them to say, fuck you, Judd Apatow, you straight white fucking privileged piece of shit that's never fucking fuck you and your hacky bullshit. Oh, you're on every billboard because you're a piece of shit. Fuck you. And that you're able to go like,
hey, Judd, you're allowed to leave whenever you want.
But like you.
But you feel there's like a debate on the work that's happening. That there's some people who love it, and there's some people who enjoy engaging with you and attacking you for different reasons.
There's not even a debate on the work. Like maybe this is like it's like, oh, the work's great. Is it ever going to make this guy a good person?
Yeah. Why do they think you're a bad person?
I'm a bad person.
Yeah. But why are you a bad person?
Well, ironically. A lot of
Judd Apatow just called you a bad person, and I want that to go on record.
I would like to think, ironically, it's because, well, I had work to do.
You had work to do, and that made you a bad person?
Yeah, I did. Well, my work wasn't in the area of being a good person.
That you were focusing on your own ego and your own success and not helping anybody.
Like if somebody came up and said, like, hey, can you help me open this soda? I'd be like, how is that gonna make television good?
Yeah.
So and they go, we're 8. And I'm like, well, bitch, you better fucking figure it out.
Yeah.
Because I'm gonna be controlling TV one day and you're gonna be opening sodas.
Yeah.
And you compound that for 40 years.
Yeah.
But it's like, is there a difference between our breed? You're a more likable person, right?
Yeah.
Like you're like
I think this crowd likes you more than me, so you're wrong.
They're self-abusive. So yes, you're right, they do, but because they conflate loathing with authenticity, and so then they're like, I like him because he hates himself. That gives me a break from hating myself. It's terrible. We're all unhealthy.
I see, yeah. That's true.
But that's why we have guests like you to invite us upward, and so I think we're all asking you, do you have a secret? Can we escape this?
Well, I think I used to have a lot more of your energy early in my career, because I remember I was working on the Ben Stiller show, and they gave me all these terrible notes, and I said to the guy, well, I'm not doing any of them. What happens now?
Yeah!
And then we got canceled. And I did the same
thing. And you won an Emmy!
Yeah. And then I did the same thing on Freaks and Geeks, and we got canceled. I did the same thing on Undeclared, and we got canceled. And then I made this pilot with the great Dave Herman, from Office Space and King of the Hill. And he had a beard. He played a parole officer. And the head of the network said, I want you to reshoot. We were 3 days into shooting the pilot. I want you to reshoot everything, because I don't like the beard, because only villains and pirates have beards. And so then the head of the production company came to me and said, can you do this? Will you reshoot everything you've done? But we had been improvising for 3 days. You couldn't really recreate what had happened. And he looked better with the beard. This was kind of a grizzled guy. And I said, I don't think I can do it. I don't think that it will be better without the beard. And she said, if you don't shave the beard, there's no chance this show will get picked up. I'm like, really? She will hold that against me. She begged me to make a show, but she will hold it against me and not pick it up only because of the beard. And she said, yes. And I'm like, well, I'm not shaving the beard. And then they didn't pick up the show. So I have had Dan Harmon years.
Keep going. Wait, was there a dead man's curve where you're like, I can't do it?
Yeah. There was a Dead Man's Curve, which is I was working on the 40-Year-Old Virgin, and I was like 3 days in. We had only shot 2 things. He was like, remember there was like a bus that had all this like sexy signs on it, and he was just running away from this bus with a perfume ad on the side, and so we shot that, and then we shot this speed dating sequence, and the studio saw it, and then someone from the studio, in the middle of the day, called and said, "Shut the movie down." And they said, Steve looks like a serial killer, and Paul Rudd looks fat, and you're lighting it like an indie, but it also felt like they didn't really understand the style comedically of what we were doing.
Well, clearly.
And that was usually the moment where I would burn everything down and
Right.
we wouldn't start up again. And for the first time in my career, I went, okay, I'm gonna listen to everything they say, because someone said to me, when you tell people their notes are stupid, you're basically calling them stupid, and then they make it their mission to destroy you. That's their reaction. This is all in the master class, by the way. And so I said, don't do it. Just listen to the notes. Just don't. Maybe there's a way to do the notes. And so she's like, well, he looks like a serial killer. And I said, well, because he's wearing like a tan, like a Jeffrey Dahmer jacket all the time. And I said, well, we probably could make that maybe like a running gag that everyone tells him he's looking like a serial killer.
That's good. I like that.
And then we did that, and it became a big part of the story.
Hang a lantern on it, we call that.
Yeah.
You don't address the note,
Yes.
you make the note part of the script.
I actually made up a comedy term that no one uses, which is a certain joke is a turd in a slipper.
A slipper?
A turd in a slipper, which basically means like you put your foot in a slipper with a turd in it, and it's a joke that feels good, but it's not right. But
If this episode's not called Turd in a Slipper, I quit.
But then I couldn't make Paul Rudd skinnier because I wanted Rudd to be fat. I thought, he was always so cute and like clueless, and I was always like, I like him like when he looks like he's falling apart. And so I said, I'm gonna make Paul lose weight, but it was too late.
You wanted to poop in a slipper.
Yeah, and then the lighting is the lighting, and then I realized like, oh, this didn't even make sense shutting us down. Like she could have just called and said, hey, keep an eye on these 3 things.
It's there. Yeah, that happens a lot where like an email will come in and it's like their choice to make it seem catastrophic, and so their language is catastrophic, and so you inherit that, and then you go, well, then defiance is the only. I'm just beating that horse, but it's like that is why it's worth like breathing and going, what's the note behind the note, and how do you actually do this? Like let them be hysterical and go like, actually, this is as most notes is addressable.
Yeah, no, it took me
and the
a
way
long
to be
time.
defiant is to prove that serves your ego. You go like, actually, you guys think it's hard to make him not look like a serial killer. All you had to say is please.
Yeah.
And you can retain your ego and your.
But it's so hard because when they give you the notes, what you're thinking is, I'm funny.
And because that's linked to the presupposition that you don't know what you're doing.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
It has to be. Because if you really knew, when you really have confidence, it's like actually dumb shit saying like, are you sure this should be a thing? Yeah. Like isn't it kind of like, I was like, do you want us to engage in the humiliating ritual of changing it for you? like kind of like you have that like power, that Harry Potter scar in your head. I think for me it was, for me, the reason why I'm also that confident, no, I'm not. But I just realized, I don't know if maybe was that moment, did that coincide with you? A relationship that in your personal life, a daughter born or a wife married, that you're like, I gotta stop making bridges out of firewood.
Well, I had a realization, which is okay. Anytime something would happen, like with the show or even a scene or anything going wrong, I would just lose my shit, and my wife would always make fun of me. And just be like, oh, nightmare on the set, and like mock me, meltdown on the set. What will you do? And she just so laughed at me for the fact that I would go to 10 on things that weren't that important. And I made a connection at one point. I was in this giant fight. I wanted to direct the pilot with Dave Herman. I couldn't get them to let me direct it. They said no, and I was just losing my shit. And I realized that I was treating the head of the network like my mother, and that I was looking to. There were two heads of the network at Fox. I think they were like my mom and dad getting divorced, and that I had the energy of like a 14-year-old fucking flipping out with them. And I'm like, this isn't what's happening. I have different energy than what's actually going wrong here. Yeah. And as soon as I realized I was treating the head of the network like my mother, I made a choice to find people who understood what I do, and that I wouldn't be in fights if I really spent more time going, what executive gets the joke?
Right.
And ever since I've done that, it's all easier, but you have to really. I remember I met Larry Gelbart, and Larry Gelbart wrote the movie Neighbors, the one with John Belushi and Dan Aykroyd, and he said he went out to dinner with the director, and the director wasn't funny. But he didn't do anything about it. He was just like, he wasn't funny. And then like 2 weeks into shooting, he's like, this is a disaster. And he said he realized like at that moment, I gotta pull the plug on the whole thing. I have to make sure
on Neighbors?
These are the right people. Like if I don't have the right team around me, the whole thing is screwed. And so that's what I tried to do, is slow down and go, who really understands me? But
an argument could be made that guy that melts down, that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to make he's going, this isn't right, you're not right, you don't get me. This email is you being a person that can't work with me. So we have these stories where, oh, okay, and then I rose and I breathed and I became a better collaborator, but then you just undercut it right there, because it's like, that's just as true too. It's like, if you don't have chemistry, how are you ever gonna make anything work? Yeah. You didn't know you were allowed to not cast your friends in the Ben Stiller show. That's the Emmy-winning sketch show. Like,
they laughed at me when I said let's have Seth Rogen be the lead of Undeclared. They literally started laughing, like it was so ridiculous. And but I think that at some point you realize like all this energy I put into my meltdown, it's not actually making anything better. It's making me sick. And is there any way to just not do it, only because it's exhausting at some point to be in that place?
Is there a part, because like I'm not like an employer. You guys have things that go on where you have 100 people that work, with you, underneath you, like, and you're making.
You could have fooled me with the way you're pushing this sports drink backstage. I don't know. I thought I just thought I'd invent some weird thing that Jeff has a sports drink company. Like, it didn't land.
How is he famous, Judd? How is between you and me? Why is Dan even here? I know, but like when you're like in a creative space and you have all these people underneath you that are reliant upon you, how much does that weigh into your like daily decision making at all, or not a bit?
Well, it depends on the project, because sometimes you're working with people and you go, this is their big break. Like, so if I fuck this up, Amy Schumer is screwed. She's not gonna get another movie. I got to do a good job. I'm gonna really hurt her long-term prospects. And I think about it, but it's worse when I work with my kids, because I just think, I'm going to make my children a laughingstock around the world.
Yeah, but also there's wardrobe people, the makeup department, and all these like grips and carpenters and all this stuff.
I don't know. It's like, because I was kind of happy about one aspect of the Roseanne thing, which was that actually for the first time in mainstream media talking about the television industry, there was a big talking point that was 200 people lost their jobs. Yeah. And I'm not saying, oh, that was a great talking point or it was bad. It's just like, we never really talk about that. And also, it's not always true. Every day that Sony came to a table read on Community, their theme was actually, you're fucking 200 people over with your shitty, late, crazy Dungeons & Dragons scripts. that's why I kept saying to them, you know, you can always fire me, and all these guys that saw Wood and Hall Cable will be as safe in your fucking loving arms as we want. It kind of like, it sometimes that fraud complex goes, I need to get out of here to save people hauling cable.
But do you think, I know this sounds weird, but everyone in show business is in the circus. So this isn't like people have been working at Ford for 25 years and the show goes down and they never get a job again. They all just jump on another fucking Hulu show.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it sucks,
but
and you might have 3 or 4 bad months.
That's if they're lucky, but I think that a lot of people, it's like when somebody, like when Kevin Spacey gets Kevin Spacey and the House of Cards just dies, there's probably 150 people that said, oh, fuck, I just got hired. Like, I thought I had a job.
It definitely sucks. I mean, it definitely sucks. It's awful. But, you know, all these shows are like 8 episodes or 10 episodes, and there's so much demand for crews, for shows, that like the biggest part of it, I mean, you know who gets screwed is like certain actors or actresses, they can only work on that show. Mm-hmm. You know, there are certain people on Roseanne, you go, this is where they're going to score in this show, you know?
Yeah, well, I guess my question wasn't so much about the grand picture of Laurie Metcalf being out of a job. It's the fact that like when you're writing an episode, fighting with the network, fighting with the studio, having your own little like tug of war, how much do you think about the fact that you're in charge of a lot of people?
Well, I only think about it in the sense that there's a big crew, and this sounds like bullshit, but I really think I'd like this all to work well for them, so that they all feel respected. If anything gets weird, they can come to me, and it will be dealt with, and that like we're like a happy family.
That's not a big burden on you as you're doing the creative.
It's not hard to do. It's not hard to be pleasant and nice to the people who work for you. Like the people who are a nightmare, it requires more energy.
How much time, like how many sets, crews, shows have you been on where it was a fucking nightmare? Because like I've been very lucky to work in comedy where everybody's nice.
Yeah.
And only maybe 1 or 2 times people were shitty, but that's like really rare.
I haven't had a lot of those experiences. Like a director can be shitty and be yelling at the crew and yelling at the dolly grip that they missed the mark. Like you do see that, like somebody who is so obsessed with doing a good job, they're mean to people around them. But I think everyone has bad days where they do that.
Do you think you're good at cultivating an environment of happiness and fun and grooviness?
I'm the least fun person on the set. I'm not fun. I don't know how you are when you're working on episodes and you're on set. I am so nervous that the day is not going well that my main thought is I need to figure out a way to seem like I'm in an okay mood for everyone around me, because what's in my head is so unpleasant.
But that's good.
For me, I find myself, I get so easily fixated on what they're doing and then over time, over a couple of seasons, I objectively notice, because I love being in the edit bay, and I love being in the writer's room. And then I would sometimes go to the set where they're shooting the things that you wrote in the writer's room that you labor over, and then that you're going to have to edit. And what I would notice is that me on the set was like, you might as well throw a bucket of chicken bones in the air and adjust the set the way the chicken bones implied. Because it was basically sometimes the chicken bones are going to be right, sometimes raw. It's like outside of it's like I'm not, my instincts for actors and how to communicate with them, might as well roll the dice.
Well, I agree with that to a point. When a show's going well, we're shooting Crashing right now. We have great directors. I don't feel like when I sit on the set, it's essential to what's happening. And, I'm always thrilled when an episode comes in and it's incredible and I can go, I was not there for 1 second.
Yeah, I felt on Funny People, I had that, and I was like, Judd's got his ass plopped in this director's chair. It's like, we're burning money here. He could be off developing something. I got this. But yeah.
Is that the only time you've worked with Janusz Kaminski?
Wait, I don't know what.
That's a cinematographer who did Funny People.
Oh, is he? Oh,
and Lincoln.
Why are they always?
Polish?
Yeah.
Well, no, I guess Polish ones, they're always like some, like,
They smoke cigarettes with their hand back. Or, like, why are they always from some strange land?
He came to America, and he's one of the best ever. And the first movie he did was the Vanilla Ice movie, Cool as Ice.
Which,
that's how he started.
for my money, holds up.
Yeah.
Cool as Ice is fucking like it's still as true as it was the day it was made.